Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 709, the Incel hero, ReZero as the ultimate otaku horror. Okay, that's an interesting title. First problem with that is calling Subaru an incel. I don't know if that's the appropriate way to describe him. He's many things that are lacking in a hero character type. I wouldn't call him that by virtue of using that term because I don't think that's what the Japanese or even the author was thinking when they created Subaru. He wanted him to be a punching bag as a typical innocent, not innocent. What's the characterization of Subaru? He's
naive.
Yeah, he's sort of
naive and ignorant.
Not very smart either. Yeah, he's just sort of like bouncing around.
He starts off arrogant as well.
Right. So not a good phrase. Not a like if you start using the language of a certain ideology, we kind of know where you're coming from. So I don't know anything about this person, this YouTuber. I don't know what to expect. I haven't even checked out their about page. But for 14 minutes and a bit, I'm going to assume he's got some obvious points to make and a very bad take on all those points. So
I think incel is an especially wrong term for Subaru because he never actually thinks about sex at all. Like it's not really something that's on his mind.
Right.
Like his view of like especially like Emilia is actually very pure. He just loves her, but he doesn't ever think about anything else.
Yeah, it's about the emotional relationship for him.
Yeah, it's an especially wrong term for him.
He makes jokes about, especially early on, he makes jokes about, oh, this is where I get the cute demon girl that is, like, falls in love with me or whatever as a joke. When he's getting the shit punched out of him, like, he's making a statement that he's supposed to have it easy.
Yeah, and there's also like the recontextualization of all his attitude when you've seen season 2 or arc 4 if you've read it, where it's explained that the reason why Subaru acts the way that he does is because he's overcompensating. He wants to stand out. He wants to get noticed by people, which is why he says all those things.
All right. Hopefully my mic is not as muffled as before. Is that better?
No, it's good. Are you on your webcam mic again?
Really? Let me check that. Not really, no. Nope, I'm on the right one. You know what? It's probably just the cable.
It sounds like you have the mic in your mouth.
Really?
It sounded like you were underwater for a bit.
Very, very bass heavy.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I have to play around with it later.
Explanation Point has a interesting history because I'm just gonna give you a brief of it. He got big off of talking smack about SAO and how the abridged actually fixes a lot of his issues by being decently written. And then immediately jumped off a cliff with anime analysis where he puts his foot in his mouth, including a video on the evils of capitalism in My Hero Academia.
Oh no.
Where he argues that the only reason why the heroes are allowed to be heroes is because they are more profitable than the villains.
What?
So the moment that the villains become popular, the heroes are gonna get killed off.
What?
That doesn't make any sense.
You mean from the author's perspective, or what do you? Oh, in the world.
In the world, the evil corporations that prop up heroes selling toys of all the heroes and whatnot, and merchandising and all that stuff, will turn their backs on the heroes the moment that the villains become popular.
Did that happen?
No.
No. That would never happen because it's illegal. Like the entire reason why My Hero Academia made the entire thing, like, I wouldn't even say corporate. It's just they made it a job so it can be legal. That's the only reason. So that you can legally do hero stuff and not get in trouble.
Yeah, but you mentioned merchandise of heroes.
don't even remember if that's really that big of a thing, because like there was like the one All Might figure that Deku had at
That's
like
the one he
very
references.
start, like at the very start, but I never really. I
Yeah,
can't
but
really think of
that
anything
basically
else.
indicates that there is merchandise of heroes. And that's all.
True.
And I'm pretty sure there is a lot of merchandise of certain female heroes as well.
Absolutely. We know that.
That's just human.
Yeah.
Okay, how's this mic sounding for you guys?
Oh, that sounds worse. It sounds like you're on your phone.
Oh dear.
This is a nice 90s ventrilo sound.
A retro mic.
This is the retro futurism.
Are you calling from Max Headroom's couch?
All right, I think we're back to the old one. All right, good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Now it's okay because we heard something worse.
Yeah. SAW and Cox mentioned that it has a muffled, tiny, staticky noise to it. That's a very fancy way of saying it sounds like shit, but we'll make do.
It's time to get a new piece of hardware, that's for sure. Okay, let's get going. We got 14 minutes. I don't know what to expect, but it sounds like this guy is a little bit biased in what he's...
A little?
Well...
Okay, maybe a lot.
I always try to give the benefit of the doubt there's like one problem, but maybe there's like 20. But we'll start with the arguments, so here we go.
Okay.
Today's video was brought Surfshark. If you want to watch ReZero but can't because it's unavailable in your country, Surfshark has you covered. Get 85% off a 2-year plan plus an additional 3 months absolutely free at surfshark.eu/explanation using promo code explanation point. That's explanation with a P. People get this wrong all the time and I have said it for 3 years now. Link in the description. Now on to this. The best horror is that which lingers. Shiki's gnawing suggestion that any stranger or even friend could be a monster in disguise. The way that Mayoiga forces the viewer to confront their own taste in anime and the fact that they may never have had any. How you watch yourself get trapped in a cycle of executive dysfunction as your latest creative project is mostly skimmed over by the public, making you wonder why you even try anymore, while knowing that the lack of a consistent content stream is what makes the world forget that your content exists, while the resulting lack of proportional reward to the effort of content creation sours the entire process and makes you wish you could just hecking stop.
You could also just make better content.
Am I allowed to
like take a breather?
What is
allowed to
this?
speed this portion up, or is this actually part of the video?
This is part of the video.
Is he trying to do the old Yahtzee thing?
Yeah, he's doing like a speed run.
Like he's doing the thing where he's shitting on himself.
That humor gets tiring after a while. It's only funny like once.
Yes.
Okay, so he's shitting on himself while doing the Yahtzee thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the having a nervous breakdown joke.
Where does the joke begin?
Well, it's funny, see? He's pointing fingers at himself, saying that it's the horror of being a content creator. Girls just make their content.
Isn't he about a decade too late after Doug Walker?
Yes, well, I always like the haiku from Super Mario RPG. Like the moon over the day, my genius and brawn are lost on these fools.
So I just looked up his channel and like right after this video he made another ReZero video.
Oh,
The Men of ReZero, How Not to Suck.
nice.
Oh my.
That's the point of the story is to figure out how not to suck.
Yeah, that's kind of the point.
It went over his head.
It's kind of like a story where the character tries to better themselves and they learn it through suffering. Wow. Anyway.
No other career will satisfy you any more than this one does. Like in Welcome to the NHK or Recovery of an MMO Junkie. ReZero takes that deeply personal kind of horror, the kind that makes a viewer reflect on themselves as much as it makes them reflect on the work, and it presents it to an audience that is famously resistant to self-reflection. Involuntarily celibate otaku.
What?
As a former incel otaku myself, I can say that there are few things more...
So he is projecting.
Interesting
so you describe yourself as incel? Excuse me?
So wait. You mean
that's an interesting self-report?
You mean the guy of the videos an incel?
He just described himself as a previous celibate otaku. Excuse me?
Well,
Why should we listen to you? You are obviously insane.
there's something wrong. if
Isn't the whole point of the word incel is there's the word involuntary?
Why did the girls reject you?
I don't think it's because you like anime. There's plenty of girls who like pop art and modern art. And
Just go to any anime convention today or for the past 20 years, and it will be full of girls. Not necessarily the ones you want to hook up with, but lots of girls that you can hook up with.
Me on
that will
the
happily
doll
hook
where
up
the
with
girl...
any. They have very low standards.
Show me on the doll where the girl didn't touch you.
But I find it weird because even the author who shits on Subaru constantly, like he can't go an interview without reminding people that Subaru is meant to be a loser. He's not meant to be cool. He's meant to be a reflection of the worst aspects of the person.
He literally said that he refuses to put Subaru on the cover of any of the light novels until the very final one, when he's like allowed to be like the actual Giga Chat hero.
Yeah, but the main point is that he's not an incel. He doesn't think about sex. That's not his thing. His thing is a lot more just about getting up in the morning.
Yeah, like his thing is more like an inferiority complex. It's not really like a sex thing. Like he doesn't even think about like girlfriends ever. It's not something he thinks about.
And
he thinks about, man, I suck so much. I want to suck less. That's what he thinks about.
And when it is about girls, it is more about impressing them and actually being worthwhile to them. It is about the emotional connection.
And he wants to be there for them and save them from danger and all these things. You know, like being a good person.
Yeah. Even becoming a butler.
Yes.
And now there's
that demographic than being alone, unloved, unwanted, forgotten, misunderstood, powerless. That's why isekai stories were so appealing to me and to others like me. When every night
Shield Hero didn't have that problem.
That's not an inherent like you don't read isekai because you feel weak. Yes, some isekais have power fantasies, but ReZero is not one of them.
I think that's going to be his point, is that ReZero is a brave new world that tackles the loser behind the screen that's going to watch this. Because we've never had media that's just told the viewer to go fuck themselves before.
May I ask how old this video is?
It's 3 years old.
3 years,
okay. Because I was wondering why his exclamation mark has a mask on.
That's a good point. I didn't even notice that.
All right, so he's not he is interested in power fantasies, but he's not because he likes ReZero, or he'll watch ReZero to like it. Okay.
Day is spent carefully scrutinizing every word you say in a vain attempt to come across as anything other than the friendless, Cheeto-dusted, awkward freak you are, who wouldn't dream of a world where respect is freely given, where you are enough as you are now. ReZero has...
Okay, I have to ask. Do you guys just wake up in the morning and start writing out the scripts you're going to be reading out from?
No.
Does anyone wake up in the morning and go, yes, this is the accepted words I'm allowed to use today, so that people have a very specific idea of what I am, because they can't know the truth.
The whole idea of you are enough as you are, you don't need to improve, you're already awesome, when you are actually not. That is the emotional appeal that his political side is using all the time in order to bring people in. Because, you don't need to put in any effort to be awesome. You already are. Well, and then you wonder why you're an incel. Because there's nothing interesting, nothing appealing about you, nothing worthwhile about you. And Subaru is pretty much the opposite of that, because he does improve. He runs away a lot in the beginning. he also fumbles a lot in the beginning. Well, the big running away arc comes after that, actually. And since that doesn't work out, since he realizes it is impossible to run away from his problems, and all he can get is worse and worse deaths that he all remembers in excruciating detail. The only way forward is to actually face the problems of this world and improve, become better, because he's not enough. That's the thing. Is that what you dislike about it? We'll see.
All of that appeal to those desperate for recognition and admiration, right down to the overflowing wellspring of cute and available two-dimensional womenfolk. But unlike in Another World with...
I wouldn't call Rem two-dimensional.
No, I think he's literally saying they're 2D.
I wouldn't call ReZero like specifically something where you like watch or read it for the waifus. Like it's not really.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very minor point of it, actually.
Also, right now it seems like he's just setting up the it was coated in sugar so that will arrive, and then it snaps him like a flesh-eating plant. Going, suffering time.
If he meant with two-dimensional that they're drawings.
Yes, that seems to be the joke.
Are you sure?
That seems to be the joke.
I thought he was alluring to the characters of the girls.
I mean, we have to keep in mind that people like Norrealities did make that argument that someone like Rem is very flat character. Like she did make that point.
Right.
No, she didn't. She tried to make the point. She failed.
Yeah. Now, I will weigh on the side of he was probably just making a joke.
Let's assume it's a joke for now.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
And other seasonal schlock, ReZero weaves those elements together with the fears and insecurities that come with being a lonely, unwanted 20-something in the real 21st century world, making both Subaru and the viewer confront the frightening reality that the world is not the problem, they are the problem. And that
both are.
The world
in the story, both are the problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
The world of ReZero is not. It is not just you, it is also the world that is a major fucking problem.
No,
this world is really, 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 really fucked up.
No, you see, Law, it's in the world of Berserk. It's not world of Berserk's fault. It's just your fault for existing in the world, I guess.
Like one of the only real critiques I have of the series is how things just spring up that seem like that should just be common knowledge. A certain creature comes to mind. There should be all the talks, or at least you'd think so, if it is such a pressing matter. But the world itself is still a fucking problem. It's not just Super, but Super is also does not make it better.
Well, because you mentioned this, I guess I should ask, like, what's everyone's like knowledge level, like anime season 1, season 2?
I stopped at the anime.
Okay.
Like of season 2.
Okay.
Zero at the moment.
Anime season 2.
Okay. So, because like you mentioned, there's like things that people should know about, but seemingly don't. Can you like elaborate on that real quick?
There seems to be creatures that are of very high importance or of a certain danger level that should be common knowledge and or spoken about before they actually pop up in the narrative. So when they do, and the way it is portrayed, when they show up, it's a big surprise, a big shock, a big confusion. But then the character in the moment is fully aware, while Super is left in the dark, as well as the viewer, which is really effective. But the more I think about it, I'm wondering, I'll have to wonder, okay, did nobody ever feel like talking about this whilst at the mansion or around Subaru? Like no one feel like, for example, a certain highway monster could just swallow you whole?
One thing to keep in mind is that the characters don't actually, like, they think he is from this world. They just don't really know where. So they assume that he knows the things that they know.
But nobody ever talks about, for example, the big monster that is a real threat to anyone, going on a ride down the road, apparently.
Are you talking about the whale?
He's talking about the whale.
I'm obviously talking about the whale.
I found it a bit odd as well, because the whale is pretty epic, pretty well known, pretty hyper dangerous, and a really stupid thing to go right through just to be in time for your tea party.
It is, and the reason why I'm bringing this up specifically is because the climax of an arc is based on people's hatred and knowledge, like common knowledge of this whale. Despite the very spoilers, there is a part of that whale whose entire thing is that you can't remember it.
And that is on purpose. I was actually just going to mention this. This is the stuff that like ReZero does with its like narrative, where it says something, and then as it progresses, it shows you that certain history information is unreliable, and then corrects it. Well, the whale is a good example, because like when you actually watch it, you think, oh yeah, this makes sense, but then as you go on, you're like, wait a minute, how does Wilhelm remember that the whale killed his wife? Because like everything the whale kills, you forget that it exists.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to dance around the subject, and you just spoiled it hardcore. All right.
I mean, I'm assuming if we're doing a ReZero video, people have at least seen season 1.
No, I think on these things you can mention it. This is old enough.
All right. But
well, anyways.
Zero will not be enough to fix their broken lives until they address critical, long-standing character flaws within their own persons. To understand the appeal of isekai to incels and forever alones and how ReZero speaks to those...
Okay, why are you addressing, the hypothetical people who are incels? Like, this is not what you do in a video. It's like, I like to talk to all the Nazis out there who are watching me. It's like, why are Nazis watching? You don't address your audience as negative. You don't do this. You're digging yourself in a hole. You don't want to do that.
Hey,
as someone that doesn't really watch anything from this guy, like, is it just me, or like so far the impression I get from this video that he tries way too hard? Like he tries way too hard to like make memes and all of this. Like, look on the screen right now. Like, what's happening?
That is absolutely his thing. Like, as I said, ever since the SAO thing, he loves just throwing shit on the screen. Like, crossing his fingers at sticks.
Is it supposed to be ironic, or does he actually think this is funny?
No, I think he just sticks random things that he's... not random things. He's sticking things onto the screen that fits with what he is saying at the moment. That is not necessarily funny, it is just a visual aid. And to his credit, we have seen people who do throw just random shit on the screen that has nothing to do with what they're talking about, but apparently believe it is, and so far he at least does something that works in that respect.
That is fair. He meets the criteria of at least the footage actually is about what he's talking about.
Yeah. But I have a feeling there's what is going on is ReZero is a popular anime. And guys like him are guilty watchers who hate themselves for seeing themselves reflected in the weak parts of the protagonist, and therefore project that onto all the viewers must be like that, and hate them because they hate themselves. So it's a weird form of virtue signaling.
Well, as far as the appeal to me with ReZero as an art form is that I do consider it an art form in how it angers the right people, I say right people, the people it is specifically targeting. It angers them to the point that they get angry with themselves and blame the people that actually like the show. as just being weirdos. I've seen it happen in real life and over the internet where people get really angry about the show because they tackle something a lot of other shows really just want to dance around or not bring up at all. Such as Recovery of MMO Junkie.
Okay. Well, either way, this is not how you talk to your audience, and if it's trying to be edgy, we get it, but it's getting kind of silly now.
Have to understand what those conditions are. As someone who is not a psychologist, I can only do this from personal experience, but oh boy, what an experience it is. Incel, a contracted form of the words involuntary celibate, is a derogatory term used to refer to people who desire romantic or sexual companionship, but who, for whatever reason, have had...
No, it's just sexual. Not romantic, just sexual. Because that's what the whole celibacy thing is about, you fucking moron.
He just tagged on romantic, even though it's completely wrong.
Yes, to tag on romantic or ReZero arguments wouldn't work.
The guy who originated the term, which was a meme on 4chan, was a murderer that had purely sexual and dominating, like, was about kidnapping, like domination, very narcissistic thought processes. There was no romance there to be found. Don't think you want to throw the romantic element in there. Ever.
I have also noticed a lot with not just young women, but women in general, that they often say romantic when they mean sexual, but don't want to say sexual. And so romantic has this, when they use it, has this double meaning, and you never know which it is that they currently mean. There are other terms that they use like that. Our totally favorite topic, when leftists claim they totally make distinguishes between biological sex and social gender, and then immediately the next sentence they start using the word gender interchangeably with biological sex. This is the same thing.
Okay.
Yes. Forever Alone is a similar, more romantic connotations. Romantic relationships have been one of the cornerstones of human existence since humans have existed, and while humans are tricky in that there will always be individual exceptions to any attempt at generalizing what we need, close relationships and physical contact...
What are those flags?
Wait. Bottom one is...
What is the green one? I've never seen that.
Green one? Is that the Greenpeace flag?
No.
No, it's the green and white.
Is the bottom one asexual?
Could be.
That one's the sexual's bottom. The green thing, let me look.
I have no idea what this green thing is. I've never seen that.
Oh dear.
See, it's funny that he uses
AI-generated sexuality.
These flags are the worst.
Aromanticism.
So you're only into fucking without emotional bonds. So you're it's a psychopath flag.
The white stripe represents friendship, platonic, and aesthetic attraction.
If it's friendship, why is it a sexuality? What are they doing?
Black and gray stripes
just
represent
without creating. Fucking without emotional bonds means you're a psychopath. So it's a psychopath flag.
One night stands and all.
You know, there are many terms throughout human history to describe people that make love to someone without feeling anything about them. Many unkind words, psychopath being but one of many.
Sukubi?
I don't think you want... Well, I was going to say, I don't think you want to imply that these two were bouncing around in the caveman time.
No, that just died out.
Yeah.
Well, the psychopaths probably procreated well enough because they just take what they want without conscience. Yeah, but the asexuals, like, why would they procreate?
How would they procreate?
It's also PSA. Asexuality is nonsense. In almost all cases, a physiological condition can be identified and treated. That then makes your libido return to where it should be. Isn't that amazing?
Just get yourself a hobby.
Well, that also helps.
I still don't understand how this even became a thing. Like, asexuality is real, just not in humans. And it doesn't mean what they think it means.
It's easy to throw yourself.
It's an animal thing. Like, it's when you self-reproduce.
Most of the things they talk about aren't real for humans.
You should ask any of these people if they can self-reproduce, because that's what it should actually mean.
Yeah, and they also other terms that they use, like hermaphrodite or the whole transformation thing.
Aren't they trying to make that a bad word now?
No. What I'm trying to say is they do unironically use the argument of, yeah, but there are animals who do that, like the clownfish, but humans aren't clownfish. We are a different species. We function differently from other species.
Congratulations, you failed basic biology. You don't know that a fish is a different species from a human.
Oh, but you know, in seahorses, it's the males who carry out the young. Yeah, but we're not seahorses.
We're not animals.
We are animals. But we are not those animals. We have opposable thumbs.
All right.
For one.
That's good.
Necessary for happiness to varying degrees among the vast majority of people. But unlike food and water, companionship is one need that one cannot fulfill without the enthusiastic consent of another person, a resource often found in short supply. The reason for this
Wait, companionship is a resource? What are you doing? How are you categorizing these ideas?
If you see, oh God, my God, this is short fusing my brain. If you see companionship as a resource, you are a narcissist, for you think only in transactional terms. Asshole.
Yeah, so whenever women say you're objectifying us, probably shouldn't use words that are dealing with resources and goods and services. That's probably not the way to do it. So either he's doing this on purpose or he's just using words that he knows. I don't know.
No, it's why he's projecting so much. He is the narcissist, so he thinks in everything as resources. He's just honest.
He's speaking about relationship like Kanye speaks about logistics and warfare. Very creepy.
Okay. Hopefully this is just a shtick, because I don't like how he's sounding. It's sounding as if he's trying to monetize something here. I don't know how that works.
I think I was onto something when I thought that this gives me the vibe he got hurt by watching Re:Zero because it pointed at flaws inside himself, and therefore he hates the show. Therefore he has to attack everyone who watches and likes the show, because everyone must be like him, because that's a narcissistic fallacy that everyone thinks like the narcissist.
From one person to another. Perhaps you're ugly, perhaps you're awkward, perhaps you're shy, perhaps you're unpleasant, perhaps you stink, perhaps you're picky, perhaps you live in the wrong part of the world. The resulting thought process is the same. Why do I fail to do what every other animal on the planet can do without trying? Nobody...
Animals compete for sex as well, right? And most of them don't ever reproduce.
This is also, like you said, is completely wrong. Because, they do compete.
You don't think men have to try to be buff and exercise and get up in the morning at 6 and have a schedule and get a good job and do well at that job and get better at that job and
have leg and extending operations to get into space?
Okay, and have a social life and be funny and be clever and do all these things just to
women have to wait. Women have to wake up and not be the worst person on the planet for a whole 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you have to do everything right for a woman to even look your way. And if you do anything wrong, they just say, okay, we're not going to talk anymore.
That was very harsh, but point is, most men struggle a lot to get a girlfriend.
Yeah,
it's a process.
Unless you're born rich and a big jerk and you just have good genetics that when you work out for an hour you're already buff, like, okay, then maybe you're healthy and that's amazing. But for the most people, they're not like that. They have to try every day. And this is kind of how it goes with life. At your job, I mean, obviously you have to have a job and work and get money, but it's not just your job, it's your health, it's your diet, it's your exercise, it's your sleep, it's your intellect, it's everything. You have to be good at everything all the time, and you're constantly training to get better.
Yeah, that too. You hit the nail on the head. It's not just reaching a peak, it's maintaining that peak, which gains you the mate.
Yeah,
that is why the animal world is so competitive, because the moment that you slack off, somebody else is going to take your place.
Yeah, I mean, we could use the comparison to animals, but I would say this is the routine that people need to get into as they age. And it doesn't matter if you lose your job or you hurt yourself training or whatever the case is. It's just a setback. You have to keep picking yourself up. Just like with women, if you can't get the date, it's like their loss. You have all these skills, all this experience, and they can't see that. That's their loss. It's the same way. If the guy can't see the beauty or the uniqueness or specialness of a lady, it's his loss. So it's the same concept. And
most guys I've known didn't see the specialness in the girls, but rather projected some specialness into them that wasn't actually there. And they ignored all the red flags that told them, "No, not that girl. There's sane ones out there. Go for the sane ones." but this one's so awesome. She's perfect. No.
Listen, the red flags are big, but her boobs are bigger.
It's not always the boobs.
All right.
For some, it's just that
personality.
No, it's just as girls from bad households can have issues. Guys from bad households can have issues, and then they just look for that person who gives them attention and cares for them. And when that is pretended for a little bit, then they just latch on and get first girlfriend syndrome for a completely abusive, narcissistic fuckwit.
All right.
Can go the same way, the other way around, and then the girl gets with a guy who beats her up. So same shit, different sex.
Else have trouble with this. Even serial killers have their doe-eyed lovebirds sending fan mail to death row. But you are a special kind of undesirable below even that. And the sadness and desperation that grows in you makes you more unpleasant to be around than you already were, making you even less likely to obtain the thing that you're sure would fill this hole that's being dug beneath you. And now everybody's put off by how desperate you are for companionship, how feverishly you're clawing at the edges of this pit. You need somebody to pull you out, or you're going to fall so far that no one can reach you, but nobody wants to touch you because your hands are covered in mud. So there's nothing to be done. You'll scramble against this dirt until you die, and no one will mourn or remember you. Isekai.
Again, the projection is off the charts.
I have met nice guys like that, so those types do exist, and him talking about them in that detail, yes. Yes. If he had the epiphany to come out of that, grow out of that level, at the very least, while still being in the narcissistic range, congratulations. Awesome. Great progress. Keep on going. You may become a mature adult eventually.
Right. Where does this relate to Super? His thing was not with relationship. His thing was he doesn't have his life figured out. At all.
Series have traditionally been a place where people in this position could go to indulge in the fantasy of being necessary. When a Forever Alone rips at their hair and cries that they're so lonely they could die, it's the job of a traditional isekai to put his head on her lap and say, there, little hero, in another world you would be loved.
No.
Is he talking about the character in the story, or is he talking about the people who watch isekai?
I assume it's the people that watch isekai, but his example was Lock Horizon, who shows a 3000 IQ player being stuck in a world with other people. I
don't even know what the joke is anymore.
But he doesn't have that problem.
Because like he put like the Bakugo hair on the incel thing. I don't even know what he's joking about anymore.
Bakugo is certainly not an incel.
Yeah, but he put his hair on the thing. Like, what is he doing?
I don't think he understands characters.
Take an arguably normal person, almost invariably some kind of recluse or outcast, and put them in a world that loves them for who they are. This is the most frightening aspect of incel life that isekai series provide comfort from. That to achieve any degree of social success, to get anyone to love you the way that you want to be loved,
I can't follow your weird pictures anymore.
Drastically. Whether this is true or not, and it often is, it's advice that only confirms the worst fears of the forever alone. That they are inherently unlikable. That in order to be loved, they must become someone else. The isekai formula of the otaku hero being chosen...
What you're describing fits a lot of borderline personality disorders, which is why they make up magical nonsense about themselves, where they're super special and everybody has to buy into it and believe it. Yet that somehow fails. It's only the borderline girls where that functions somewhat because they always play damsel in distress, while of course at the same time being strong, independent women feminisms. Yet they love playing damsel in distress at the same time because they actually love that shit because it gives them attention, which they crave. They're also the ones that like to keep on playing the no means yes game, where they want to be chased forever and you will just go nuts over that.
Okay.
Women of a desperate land using skills that only they could possess counters that fear on all points. Isekai protagonists are chosen at the discretion of the most powerful forces in the universe, kings and gods and cute girls. They are made to feel important, necessary.
Aqua does not give you that vibe. She is a goddess on paper. She has the powers, but nobody's taking her seriously. Or feeling great for being chosen by her. Come on, let's be honest.
A lot of isekais actually do a twist on this. They either trick you or you're given with they think you have a lame skill or gift and it ends up being great, but they can't see that, so you're rejected by the community. And then they go off and make friends with all the rejects. Or the demons, or the bad guys, or whatever the case may be, and they have a great life because the bad people are gone. Even though
also ReZero is a bad Konosuba is a bad example because it's a parody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's making fun of this stuff. That's why Aqua is useless.
It's also the whole being summoned by a bad influence is also an ancient trope. Like Dunn, which I referenced in the pre-show, I believe. Was the whole point there is that the one that summons the people from the outside is one from our world. He's the tyrant wanting to conquer this new planet, and he needs more people from our world he can trust. And the main character's first action, or one of his first actions, is, "You guys are cringe, I'm leaving."
Yeah. And Kazuma, or I think it's Kazuma, yeah. Kazuma, yeah. He dies in the most pathetic way, and it's kind of a joke. Like, everything about the story is a joke, so he's not like
Aqua literally laughs at him because he died in such a stupid way.
Yeah, so he's not like seeking redemption or trying to do a new life. Like, he didn't hurt anyone. He just died in a dumb way, and everyone's laughing, and he's like, "Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing." And everything else about the story is a farce. So no, we won't.
Whimsical.
We don't see it as a power fantasy. We see it as a satire.
Like most of Slayers. For me, Konosuba is this decade's Slayers, basically.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting.
And where they aren't, they're at least made out to be badass contrarians beating down their detractors. They're often handsome, though without too many defining features that would prevent a lonesome viewer from seeing themselves in the hero, and they draw the attention...
So we can't identify with the hero because they don't have enough features?
They just look normal.
I can't identify with Kazuma? Really?
They have completely normal faces. What is he talking about?
Well, maybe that's the exception because we're talking about Konosuba, but
like the whole like isekai protagonist looking like the same thing. If you actually read like what some authors say why they do this, it's actually because they intentionally want you to pay more attention to other characters that are not the protagonist.
Yeah, there's actually, I can't remember the name of the story, but it's a really good reverse isekai where the guy goes into the novel he's been reading the entire time, and he has a skill called the fourth wall, and the people that are in the story can't quite perceive him, but they don't know whether he's attractive or not. Like he's just average. Like everyone sees him as average, but you know the girls that he saves, like the young girls, they think he's amazing, but they call him beautiful, but they still can't see him. They can't perceive him as other things that are supposedly attractive. He's not a bad-looking guy. In fact, he's an attractive. He's drawn very well. It's just that the main hero in the story, who's a regressor, so he's died like 8 times, whatever, and he's attractive. So he's the main hero. But the guy who's read the book, who's trapped in the book with everyone else, can't be perceived. So it's kind of like you're following along with this dude who's read the book and knows what's going to happen, and no one can really attach themselves to him because he's sort of a third party. But there's plenty of stories where the main character is not attractive at all, but his gifts or his desire to do good is what attracts him to other people.
Jay James is mentioning that I think he's saying the character is somewhat flat so people can protect themselves onto him, sort of like Twilight. I think that's a very relevant point.
Yeah, no, this is typical writing in Japan, whether you're talking about a game or manga or anime. The characters are meant to be not totally flat, but they have that sort of stoic, I'm the hero dude. I'm not interested in women because the story is more important than my arousal. But it works with the Japanese disposition for manners and courting, so that's fine. It doesn't bother me too much. It does bother me at times, but not all the time.
Of every land just by being themselves. The only change that they have to go through to get that recognition is a change of environment. It sends the message that any forever alone person can have a decent life if only they went somewhere where their talents were appreciated.
Okay, I immediately have to question, why would you put on Kirito in this scenario? Because Kirito has a drastic change in episode 2 where he intentionally pretends to be an asshole so that a guy that's suicidal doesn't look bad.
Also, the thing is, like, his examples are really bad. Like, he's trying to talk about, like, the generic protagonist that just gets everything by default being in the world. Kirito, as blind as he can be, he does actually have skills. Like, he does things. He has things that he is knowledgeable about. It's not just, like, that he goes into the game and then everyone likes him. It's not actually like it's not completely accurate and not completely fair to SEO to claim that.
Meet people who didn't already know how creepy, desperate, and insecure they were so that they would have a chance to show off all the things that are good about themselves. In another world, they might have a chance to be happy. Subaru has this fantasy. Not explicitly, but I recognize enough of Subaru's behavior that I think I would have fit in his tracksuit 5 years ago. The way he looks at this couple on the street.
So you're assuming what he wants? Question mark.
Well, that means he can identify with him, even though all of his traits are obscure and hard to see.
So it was quite undefined in the beginning.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, in the beginning, you don't really know much about him at all. Like, you see the little bit where he's in the store, he looks a bit tired, a bit dejected. But you don't really know much about him yet, so... This is one hell of an assumption just from 30 seconds of him
Which
buying
is-
chips in a store.
Yeah, but which is what allows the easy connection with Subaru.
True.
You can because the barriers of him being defined are not there. It is easier to project yourself onto him and therefore empathize with him. Which apparently worked on this guy.
Through a generic shoujo manga at his local convenience store. How he finds any excuse to be near Amelia and sees any man who shows her the smallest amount of respect as a potential rival. Declaring himself Amelia's knight at the royal selection, literal white knighting, if you will, even after she explicitly told him to stay away from her.
Yes, because he's a loser that wants her attention. It does not mean that he wants to fuck her.
Also,
If he was just wanting to fuck her, he could have done it when she was asleep.
I would also say that that is also that scene specifically. It is quote unquote the loser scene, but I also think it's more like his naivete, because like the reason he actually tries to stand up for her is because like the people are being racist towards her, and he's like, "What the hell? This is fucked up." So he's like, "I like her. I don't think she's so bad." And obviously embarrasses her because like he doesn't know how politics works because he's a kid.
He's working out the same fear that you'd apply when defending your friend in a voice chat.
Yeah.
In front of
He
like
doesn't
huge political
realize-
bodies.
He doesn't realize that she intentionally and the others intentionally don't say anything because they're playing politics. You can't just say, no, what you said is so bad. Like, it's all intentional and he doesn't understand it because, yeah, he never did anything like this.
Again, projecting desires of lust upon somebody wanting to protect or defend someone's honor is a weird thing to do.
It is a weird projection, isn't it? Because like in that scene, he's not trying to say, I want to fuck Emily. He's saying, you guys are being really racist. I don't like that. Like, which is interesting because you'd think they'd like that he's standing up for her when she's being like discriminated against because of her race.
That actually begs a good question. Do you think in this scenario, as he started out, explanation point stated that he has an Incel, right?
Yeah.
If defending Amelia's honor is a white knight incel behavior, if he was in this scenario, do you think he'd just let them keep calling her racist bullshit and be mean to her, and he'd just stand there with a dumb smile on his face? Because to
Probably not,
help
I mean,
help the woman that you want to protect is incel behavior?
That Subaru says upon realizing what's happened to him is, I've been summoned across the universe to another world, which is presumptuous in that it assumes agency. It assumes that someone, specifically a cute girl, brought him here for a reason, when the case could just as easily have been, I've fallen through a dimensional hole into another world.
well, it's mostly because he's an otaku, so he recognizes this as an isekai trope, which is meta in
He
a way.
references what he knows.
Yeah, he reads this thing, so he's like, oh shit, I'm actually isekai. So he just makes assumptions based on what an isekai would be like. And the first episode establishes that it like immediately tries to contradict the things, because he's like, oh, I must have some power now, and he tries to like save somebody from a carriage, and nothing happens. So he's like, oh, I guess I don't have powers.
Also, Scott he says in the chat that Subaru does want love and affection from Amelia. Yes, an incel is about sex.
Also,
It's about
like,
reproduction.
I don't remember if season 2 establishes this, so this could be a mild spoiler, but I'm gonna mention it anyway. Like, Subaru's affection with Amelia is actually played as not entirely a normal thing, and I'm not trying to say as like just like how you should perceive it, but more as like a story thing, because it's specifically noted in the narration that whenever Subaru, like especially when Subaru is with Satila, his soul, like his very being, reacts to these two characters, and that's what makes him feel that way to them. So there's like more to it than just him being a simp. There's like a hidden story thing that we don't know about yet.
But you don't even need to go that far, and that's my point, is that painting him in the brush as somebody that just wants to get laid is extremely dishonest.
Yes, it's very dishonest.
Makes this assumption because he needs Lagunica to make good on the promise he was given by half a decade of isekai, the promise of personal importance and of desirability. Look at the way he introduces himself to Emilia, saying,
"My name is Subaru Natsuki. Not only am I totally clueless, I'm also broke beyond compare. Nice to meet you."
He wants to be the kind of guy who can give his name and strike a dramatic pose without cringing himself straight to the offline meeting, but he can't back that up with history because he's a shut-in with no accomplishments to speak of.
Doesn't that also show that he is very, forward, honest, usually positive traits? Punchline being that he also considers himself entitled to various benefits the rest of the world is never going to give him.
He literally introduces himself with a self-deprecating joke, yeah. So,
and that's something that comes to a head in season 2 with the self-deprecation.
Yes, like I mentioned earlier, there's a very specific reason that he acts like this all the time.
The trappings of confidence, and when it comes to the actual introductions, he falls back on the only thing he has to say about himself, that he sucks. That being in Lagunica doesn't make him not suck. This is why he clings so hard to Emilia, why he desperately needs her to love him. Because if she doesn't, then how not to summon a demon lord is a lie. If a change of environment doesn't fix his forever alone problem, then the environment was not the problem, and he therefore has to change.
He doesn't have a forever alone problem. That was never what he thought about, what he wanted.
Okay,
he has a problem of I don't think I'm skilled enough to exist in society because my father is better at me, is better at everything that I do.
Right, his mother
it's
is
more
a
like
wonderful...
a father complex in the sense that he feels very inferior to his dad because it's like everyone likes his dad. Everything his dad does, he does it better than him. His dad is ripped as fuck. So,
his dad got a woman that is arguably way below him, up to the quality equal to himself. He is a god amongst men.
He's an absolute gigachad.
And Subaru felt like he could be just like his dad when he was young. But then he reaches periods around this certain grade where he starts falling off, realizing he's not that special. He's not that good at everything. And suddenly he starts just tapering off, feeling like he can't do anything. Meanwhile, this guy comes in and going, forever alone, am I right, Incel?
It's just a very gross misunderstanding of his struggles.
He has to change. He's a whiny, selfish bitch who wants the benefits of companionship without putting in a consummate amount of work. He wants to be respected without respecting, to gain reputation without repute. So change, you say. Here is the path that you can take to be loved and respected like you want. It's not an easy one, but it's there, and it has to be better than laying in your bed being miserable all day because Emilia won't strip for you. Why are you not taking the path, Subaru? Why are you turning around, Subaru? Listen to me. Do the thing, Subaru.
No, the problem is that he's not taking the road. The problem is he doesn't know what the road forward is. That's half the time spent in season 1 is just finding out how to progress.
That is actually the biggest point. It's not that he doesn't take the road. Is he doesn't know what even is the road. How do I get to the road? What do I need to do to achieve to even get to the road? Where can I find the road? And it's more like that.
When the first real loop begins after episode 3, I believe it is, when he's at the haunted mansion, Luigi's mansion, that he just wakes up and time has restarted and he so confused, like utterly bewildered. Do you think he would not want to continue had he a direct line assigned of how to progress from there?
Also, I'm not gonna let him get away with saying that he's selfish. He's not selfish. Like, even from the very beginning, like, he tries to save this random girl he just met. He's not selfish. He's arrogant at times, yes, but he's not selfish. Like, the entire point of his ability is that he dies so he can save people.
Right. And Scott E made a very good point in the comments, is that the only thing he has is that Emilia is there. Emilia brought him to the point where the resetting begins. That's the only objective he has that he can actually chase, that is in line of sight. Everything else is nebulous at best. And he's standing here.
He doesn't have anything. He doesn't have a goal yet, because he just arrived and he gets like beat up in the alley, and then he dies and he's confused. So like, yeah.
All right.
Nature of the problem means that it isn't so simple as that. When you want admiration, you want it for yourself. It's a kind of self-affirmation.
When you want admiration, when you want a hot dog, you want it for yourself. Generally speaking, yes, that's how I want things.
I'm glad you phrased it that way, because I was going to say that's a very weird way of phrasing I want stuff.
Yeah, if you were like a marketing guy and you want admiration for your client in some weird public image campaign, that's like, okay, but that's a very specific thing by a very specific role and function. Yes, people want things for themselves. This is how things are wanted.
That you are valuable because other people being rejected by others therefore translates to worthlessness. Telling Subaru that he's possessive, aggressive, dismissive, disrespectful, etc. might be true. It might be true, in fact we see that it is true, that recognizing and changing these aspects of his personality would lead to him being better liked and better respected, especially with Emilia. But telling a person that they have to change to be liked is tantamount to saying the exact phrase that all Forever Alones fear: you are unlovable. Perhaps
No, there's many reasons why you're unliked, and there's all kinds of styles and manners upon perception that can cause you to be unliked. And you may do everything right to be liked. You may have the greatest speech prepared. You look good, you smell good, you sound good. Everything's positive, and for whatever reason, that person or that group of people just does not care. And there's lots of reasons for that. This is called marketing. Marketers do this for a living. Even when they do everything right, they're lucky to get 2% eyeballs. And the 2% of that, like maybe 20% might care to listen. So, yeah, no, it's hard to get people's attention and to do it for the reason that you want, like to make a sale or to make someone like you and laugh at your joke. This is what comedians do every week of their lives. They fail. They go to like all these stand-up routines, and half the time it works. The other half the time they bomb. And there's no rhyme or reason. There's like maybe the time of day. The people were half drunk. The jokes just weren't that good. They weren't delivered on the right way. There's so many reasons why things don't work out, even if everything you did was right and you prepared.
You can assume that 50% of all advertising does nothing.
Well,
and that's a gentle estimate.
I always say marketing is just lying, but it's how you lie. If it's a good lie, then I'll buy it. So anyway,
you need to know what your target audience is actually about.
Yeah, that's why I liked and watched Thor Ragnarok. I thought that was a great trailer.
Oh my god. That was horrible.
Person just like you would be lovable, but only if they didn't do that weird thing that you do, or they cut their hair.
Yes, women are very selective. You do anything wrong in the smallest way, you are trash to them. That's how women work.
Because they can filter because all the men try to get their attention.
Yeah.
So they can just sit there and wait like, nope. And they only need to up their game when they don't like the options they get.
Yeah, they have so many options, and if you are not in the top, 5 percentile of whatever they're looking for, they're not going to care.
Abrasive. But at what point does that changed person stop being you? And at what point do you get to stop changing? You can recognize that you are the problem and still believe that changing yourself invalidates the issue. Either you change and therefore admit that you are not enough and that nobody will ever love you. And
is this guy having an 18-year-old life crisis? Like, what is happening here? Does he not understand the process?
He's projecting all his issues onto Subaru, which are not really relevant for Subaru as a character.
Yeah, because especially Subaru knows that he's the problem. That's his entire complex. That he thinks he sucks so bad compared to his dad. He knows this. He just doesn't know how to fix it. But he knows that he's the problem. That's the entire issue.
And the point where he comes to conflict with those emotions are only delayed due to his stubbornness and refusal to acknowledge the situation that he's stuck in.
Yes.
There's a point in the first season where he breaks down, and that's after several resets, several emotionally distressing events take place, and he just finally breaks down and needs to chill.
Yeah, and changes for change's sake that are just random, fidgeting around to impress the other. That just doesn't work because none of that is you. That's just you pretending to be something.
Yeah, I'm not seeing.
And this is I think what he is starting to realize, that this juvenile pretend game isn't actually working. Subaru figured it out.
Yeah, I'm not seeing ReZero as a dating drama story. It's romance is a very specific part of it, but it's not.
Season 2 kind of gets there, but it stays relatively safe.
Yeah.
On the romance drama, there is a specific scene in Season 2 that comes to mind, but everything else is more about his personal growth.
Yes. Well, Season 2 is about everyone's growth, kind of. There's multiple characters that start growing in that arc.
All right.
There's Emilia, Subaru, Ram, kind of. Garfield, too.
Imposed standards, or you can stay as you are, effectively damning yourself to a blank guest book at your wake. This is why Subaru goes out of his way to interpret Emilia's actions in a way that directly contradicts what she and those closest to her tell him about her character. When she says, "I don't care about you, it only helped you to get information," he thinks, "Oh, she must secretly care about me." When she specifically tells him, "My good deeds are transactional," and Puck says, "Yeah, her good deeds are transactional, I would know," Subaru thinks, "Oh, she must secretly be a good person." Because to think that Emilia isn't fond of him is to take the isekai promise of being loved as you are and throw it in the river, which is exactly
not entirely true. There are certainly times where he completely misses the point. Actually, several times where he missed the point with characters. But the event which you are referring to, she does a lot more than minimally expected, and he mocks her for it. He makes fun of her for it.
Is he talking about the alley scene?
Yes, he's talking about the alley scene.
Okay. That's certainly an interesting way of looking at that scene.
What the fuck am I looking at?
I don't know.
Great contribution, Mike. Thank you.
I know what the picture is. I just don't know what it means.
It's a Titan from Attack on Titan with a rainbow and baby Subaru. I don't know.
You have Care Bear Subaru. Then you have Transformer Optimus Prime Subaru.
And,
and then you have Attack on Titan Subaru.
You got Emilia's skirt poking out with her thigh.
And her hand and her fingers.
There's a white splotch stain on the wording.
Like the most try-hard attempt at memeing that I've ever seen.
What the fuck? You're not even. I don't even know if I made anything like this. I forget.
This is just bizarre.
You made proper surrealist memes, Mike.
Yay!
All right, that's.
You know what this reminds me of? I just came up with the perfect example. This is like if you gave like a kindergartner access to like Photoshop or something.
Care by Transformers Super.
All right, let's keep going.
Happens. Subaru's self-image is destroyed time and time again, both directly and indirectly. Anytime Emilia distances herself from him, anytime he's betrayed by an ally or welcomed by an enemy, anytime he has to stand next to another man and see how poorly he measures up. It's the series' way of telling the viewer to confront their own ideas and the demons within themselves. And the series even goes so far as to implicitly criticize the idea of unconditional companionship itself.
Okay, you really have a problem with the show destroying the idea that you just be fine as you are? Is that it? Did I miss something? No, you're not fine as you are. You're a child. You're juvenile. You're not fully grown yet. And that's the point. That is all of these youth manga anime are about. This is a rather mature one in regards to gore and all of that stuff. But
also what it has to say in regards to becoming an adult.
It's just a harsher version of a shonen manga. Those two are about growing up, facing your fears, facing your own shortcomings. This is just the extreme version of that. And Mr. Narcissist here apparently has understood that. Good. The message of the thing worked on him. Great. But that doesn't mean that everyone who watches it or takes something from the show is the same as you, is as pathetic and as reprehensible as you. And because some people they have made quite a long way already in their development. And shows like this can just remind you of, oh yeah, I still have this little nudge, this little corner that I can work on. Okay, yeah, sure, cool. Thanks for the reminder. That's okay. Not everyone is the despicable nice guy.
Okay, we're 10 minutes in, or 11, almost 11 minutes. We're almost done, apparently. And
yeah,
what a
can't wait for it.
Strange interpretation of the show.
What a strange psyche.
Return by death, and we get that amazing soundtrack while we see the Witch of Envy's hand literally caressing his heart. We have a woman who is, for all intents and purposes,
what the fuck is happening? I'm scared,
lol. It is the most terrifying thing in the series. And we likewise see the ugliness of Subaru's mentality portrayed in a different character, Betelgeuse Ramani Kanti, who not only lays bare the unpleasantness of Subaru's slavish obsession to a woman he refuses to truly know, but who explicitly states Subaru's sin in plain terms. Are you pride? Betelgeuse Ramani Kanti, whose ravings about the witch's love are only silenced when he learns definitively that he was wrong. That the idyllic woman he constructed as the object of his affection is a real person and that person does not love him and never will. It takes all season, but Subaru recognizes his problems, decides to change, and does so. This is one of the scariest things that a person can do, and having that idea presented from a genre that is typically consumed as mindless comfort food can be distressing. It's the kind of thing that can shake a person's image of their life, but that's what art is for. Some will refuse to see themselves in Subaru.
Okay, you spent so much time dancing around how your projections of your own insecurities upon Subaru's character and what you think the author is trying to say about you and your weird life. And then you suddenly decide that you want to tackle his big improvement and just throw out Beetlejuice without any foreplay? Or show the scene in which he gets rejected? Because to a normal viewer, even if they'd seen the show, they had to be confused as to how you just went over Beetlejuice's importance. Like you just ran by him 300 miles an hour on the highway. Oh yeah, here's a character that's everything Subaru could end up if everything went wrong. Oh, he's gone now.
Their course and hope that life will reward them. Some will watch ReZero and fail to see its message entirely, watching it in bed, curled up with their screen-printed body pillow, cheering Subaru on, while trying not to wonder if anybody's thinking fondly of them right now, because
I have yet to meet a person and go through the entirety of ReZero without seeing at least some level of reflection. Like, the show is very hands-on with the viewer. It is incredible. But if he knows these people, then more power to him. He has a wider perspective on people than I do. Or wider reach. That was the term I was looking for. Wider reach.
but some still will feel the terror that ReZero seeks to strike. They will see that the path they're walking leads to a lonely and bitter grave. They will see Subaru's change. They will
one of these things in the background just said, just be a good person. I don't know. That's not... Subaru is not a bad person.
No.
That's not his issue.
Just be a good person. Subaru better. Just do better. You know what Subaru did? He did do better. He tried to do his best. And you know what happened? He crumbled under the exhaustion.
The entire story is him constantly trying.
Just being a good person is not enough.
It's also not his issue because he's not a bad person.
And that's what the show puts out good as well. Because in order to be truly good, sometimes you have to do a mean thing to someone. Because that's necessary. That is then the good thing. But the tricky part is figuring out when that is, and then also doing it, and not doing it when it is wrong.
Not forgiven, but that he is happier, and think that they could be happier as well. When Betelgeuse asks if Subaru is pride, they will see him say no, and they will see that he is better for it.
What?
Welcome to the end of the video.
Jesus, that was a terrible ending.
Wait, I don't understand that ending at all.
I want to at least hear the last half of this, even if it's...
Isn't it just an ad?
Terrible.
The rest is going to be an ad.
Oh, hold on, I can fix this. There we go. Just let it play. It's on 2 speed.
Alright.
Okay.
Oh no, don't click off, don't click away. I know the video on the server looks nothing, but please, I have a great deal for you and you're gonna love it. Surfshark.deal/explanation.
It's a double ad.
Point is your place to get 85% off a 2-year subscription to one of the internet's best VPN services, along with 3 months of additional service, totally free. Worth it, huh? Surfshark has been great for me. It lets me bypass any region locks that Netflix or Amazon puts on my favorite anime. It has a built-in ad blocker, runs on unlimited devices, all with a 30-day money-back guarantee on a VPN so private that my internet service provider doesn't even know that I have it. Keep your online privacy safe with 85% off a 2-year subscription and 3 months totally free at surfshark.deal/explanation point using promo code explanation point. Click that link down below. Fun fact, this was originally going to be a video about Tower of God, but I realized during production of that video that the script was dumb, so I gave up on that right quick. What I do have of the Tower of God video, including the edited portion and drafts of the script, is all available for free at patreon.com/explanation point, where you can also get cool perks like hanging out during our live streams, chatting on our...
Is it really free if you need to pay a subscription to Patreon to see it?
It's free to get the... Wait.
If you pay for it, you get these things for free. That's called the scam.
Lucky patron like Richard Webster, a $1 patron since 2017. Patreon.com, link in the description. Next time, I think I'm going to keep talking about ReZero, so if that sounds cool to you, hit that like button, subscribe, comment, ring the bell.
So that's why you made the other video.
No, please don't.
This
was nothing.
What a weird interpretation of ReZero. That was oddly structured and not the way you talk to your audience.
Alright, so the big thing the big punchline, I think, really is that he makes it an odd... He makes a statement that people will see Subaru reject Beetlejuice's assumption that he has pride and feel better for it. But he didn't do the setup. He didn't do the homework required for the setup and punchline to work. Because Subaru's rejection of being called pride is him being stubborn. He is pride. We know he's pride. He is prideful as hell.
Well, the thing is, if we want to react to this, we don't necessarily know. But the thing is, the reason why the joke doesn't work is not because he's not asking him if he's pride literally. He's asking if he's the Archbishop, which he could be. But for all he knows, he could be. But
right, and if you've seen the show, that punchline is not going to work because you know the context for the question.
Yes.
Whereas if you don't, and the entire video has been setting up how he is a prideful, arrogant, possessive motherfucker, then you're also gonna say, what? No, that's a lie.
This video was odd.
Yeah.
You could say that his pride is, in his case, guiding him to eventually figure out the right thing, do things properly, so that he has something to be proud of.
I just read a comment.
That's certainly an interpretation, yes.
He also doesn't know what bartering is. I thought he said bartending. I was like, maybe I need a drink after this. Anyway, there's only 2 memes. I show them on screen. Yeah, it's this is a pretty lame video, guys.
I mean, I'm kind of glad it's not a no-reality steer video, because that would have been horrible.
Well, he tried...
I don't know if I could ever do like another no-reality ReZero video. That would be awful.
This was
I don't want to do this either.
He tried really hard with the editing and all those weird images that I didn't quite understand what he was getting at. And the actual
video was just him projecting.
Yeah, and interpreting what was happening in the story. When I'm like, that's not how I characterize any of this.
Then he said, "Oh, I know this because I'm also an incel." It's like, wait, what?
So
what is that?
Oh, speaking of, now is the perfect time to elaborate on what I meant when I say that this show gets the people very, very angry. Because you've all heard of Evangelion and how Shinji is like this super depressed kid that a lot of people reject themselves onto.
Do they? Do they project onto him?
Wow.
The question is, which part do they attach to him?
Also being a depressed widow.
I thought you were going to say the other part there, but thankfully not. Thank you.
Oh God, Mike.
But yeah, people have a very strong opinion of Shinji as a character because it's clear that it's a man. The writer is having suicidal thoughts, and it's writing Shinji out as a projection of those thoughts onto someone in a disproportionate age group.
Mm-hmm.
At which point those thoughts are, in the context of the show, even, are unwarranted and don't make much sense. And by the end of the story, all it has to say is that it's okay to be a miserable fuckwit.
Hey kids, want to see my suicide letter?
With the movie just making that even more apparent. But where with Subaru has his extreme flaws, but he's also a good person.
Oh, Scott in the chat, I think, is onto it. He says Shinji is who you don't want to be.
Yes.
And that is similar with some of the isekai characters. That's what their growth is about. The whole problem with Hideaki Anno is just that he never let Shinji grow because he himself hadn't gotten over his face.
All right.
Whereas,
Well,
which, oh, God.
there's not much more to say here. That was a bad interpretation with strange editing and a very silly way of presenting to your audience. I was like, okay, if you're going to insult your audience, I'm already checked out.
His whole argumentation just gave me a headache.
It was the weird attempts at delivery to get my attention. I'm like, no, dude, you're not selling it. Sorry. I just wasn't into it, sadly.
The things on screen didn't help either.
Yeah, they were just distracting.
Anyway, that was our anime day. We might be doing something tomorrow. I don't know what Whisp is up to, but we'll find out as the week goes on. We may finish off... Well, Whisp, we might want to finish off that video that we started a few days ago.
Okay.
If you're up for it. It's so amazingly silly that we just have to...
The chat has... the Discord has spoken. It was, 14-2?
Really? Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, if we have time tomorrow...
And that means it's 13-1 because the bot sets the first 2 votes.
Oh, right, true. Anyway, yeah, if Wisp has the time, we'll be happy to cover it. And we're already we're not even half done, but it's
less a time problem. It's more of a battery problem.
Yeah.
Battery problem.
yeah. Wisps run on batteries, don't you know?
Okay, well, fair enough. Thank you, guys. That was Anime Monday. Keep the suggestions coming for Anime Monday in the Anime Suggestions Discord. And hopefully we'll get your anime video covered every week. So thank you again. Have yourself a great evening. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.